Hi, I'm Satya Chakravarthy, Professor of Aerospace Engineering at IIT Madras and founder, CEO, CTO at the ePlane company. At ePlane, we are aiming to make what we call as air taxis, air ambulances, and maybe air cargo with what's the new kind of technology called eVTOLs, electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. Take off and land like a drone vertically, but will fly like a plane with wings, clocking short distances very effectively, very affordably. We started in 2018 ideating this and looked around the world to what's been happening, and we wanted to actually try to find a use case for what we want to develop with the kind of the congestion in the roads that we see in our cities. The air taxi market is something that we wanted to target. What we found around the world was that the developments that were being offered were not exactly suitable for an air taxi kind of application, and being too broad or too short distance kind of applications. So we wanted to be able to actually bring together a combination of a longer distance in a single charge of the battery with wings, but the wings have to be compact, plus it has to go slower so that it can do multiple short trips like a typical taxi. That's the secret sauce that we have packed into it to be able to make this, and we have the best trip profile to offer in terms of cost per kilometer and the number of trips in a single charge in the world. So one of the things along the way that we had to do was to engage with the DGCA, and that was kind of like a new territory. This area that we are in is actually hugely regulated around the world, and as a matter of fact, the DGCA reports to the International Civil Aviation Organization. So all these civil aviation authorities around the world have this mandate that they need to be answerable to the international body. So that's how the regulation percolates, and we then had to work with the DGCA to evolve the regulations for the eVTOLs, and we have successfully been able to get them to do lots more than what we thought, and at a faster rate than what we expected. So I think India is now well prepared to launch these eVTOLs very soon when compared to most other parts of the world. So one of the problems that we always have with any new technology that has a huge regulatory underpinning is people don't trust it. People don't trust that, first of all, we can develop the technology. They don't trust that we can develop the technology out of this part of the world. They don't expect that regulations will actually shape up in this part of the world soon enough. Lots of these, skepticism prevails, but we kind of peel the onion one layer at a time. With the initial believers putting in the smaller checks, then make progress in all fronts, not just the technology or the product, but also the ecosystem, the regulations, and all those things, so that we will get more and more people to actually jump into the story and fund it further and further, and so on. That's how we have to do this. So the thing that we are doing is definitely a challenge in aerospace. We are actually cracking a certain aerospace code in order to be able to do these short wings, slow flights, and multiple short hops, those kinds of things. And along the way, we are clocking lots of new technologies that can be filed patents on and all that stuff. Today's education system is actually a lot more malleable. There are people who are learning a lot from the internet, either online courses or through YouTube or DIY and all those things. So we don't necessarily have to go back to the pedantic classroom approach anymore. And while this happens, the classroom also changes. And for example, at IIT Madras, about only 40% is actually on a contact basis. The remaining 60% of the learning happens outside the classroom, and so on. So we have designed the curriculum that way, and so on. So these kinds of adaptations will take over time. We just have to let the technology lead the show. Our current metric that we want to actually chase is number of short trips in a single charge. So correspondingly, we have to actually look at what is meant by a short trip. So our initial hypothesis was that it could be 30 kilometers, but it could be 20 kilometers, or it could be as short as 10 kilometers, right? We don't know that, and so on. So that's actually our current North Star. But as we go along, we may want to then get to a point where we want to actually get a market hypothesis validated on what's the typical number of seats that we have to have in the aircraft for what range that we are offering. How do we, if you have like larger number of seats, how do we aggregate customers and stuff? But the final North Star for me would be to do intra-city rooftop to rooftop. And that's kind of like a audacious goal in my view. So we'll obviously start with cities that are close enough. But ultimately we want to be able to say, I hail a air taxi, it comes to my rooftop, and then in Chennai, and then I go to wherever is my end destination rooftop in Bangalore, and so on. Right now, we are looking at about a 4,000 square feet kind of space for us to be able to land, which could be made available in most large building rooftops, could be apartment buildings, office buildings, terraces of malls, metro stations, and parking decks, and all that stuff. But ultimately, if I have to actually get down to the level of about 2,500 square feet or 2,000 square feet, that's the kind of direction which that we will want to head as well. So fortunately, in the last year, we have had the vertiport regulations out, and so we now have the ability to inform real estate developers and infrastructure players on what is the regulation, how do you want to actually do this, and so on. It's not too infra heavy in the first place. It requires a flat piece of land which is concretized. It could be on rooftops of buildings. It's allowable. So it has some very, very bare minimum requirements for what's called as VFR rules, visual for light rules. IFR will actually follow subsequent to that, and all those things. Yeah, so it's not very difficult at all to actually set up vertiports. Well, we thought that it's going to be challenging for us to work with DGCA because we did not have any opening. But the moment we actually reached out to them, they have been extremely warm, and in fact, they have opened an office for us exclusively in Chennai, so that they will be able to position their officers to look at our certification and so on. So we have been able to work with them in shaping up a lot of these policy. They look to us for data and inputs on how to do the policy, shaping and all those things, the regulations that they want to shape up. But as I said, they have actually been faster than we expected. So pretty much we have lots of the pieces of the regulation in place, and I think we just have to wait for the aircraft to get out certified, and it should be good to go as of today. In the meantime, we have to actually work with a lot of private players to educate them on the regulations that have come up on the vertiports or charging infrastructure or air traffic management or pilot training and all of those things, operations and so on. So that's the ecosystem building that we're doing along with the aircraft development and certification. I'm about 56 years old. I've seen the other side of the world. I've seen here. There is one key change that's happening as we speak. For the first time in my life, we are beginning to see that it's possible for us to think of doing something in India that is not being done in other parts of the world. And that's a very important mindset shift that's good for a country that will want to become developed, because we don't have to actually copy the template of a previously developed country with the technology that it had, that it got stuck with. There are lots of new technologies like ePlane itself, for example, that we can kind of embrace and leapfrog ahead of the other developed countries to reach the developed country status. But ultimately, what is important for us to actually reach as a developed country is not about the technology or the progress, all of those things, but it's about keeping everyone happy, right? So, and it percolates down to like whether we have like enough incomes for people, we actually cross the poverty levels and all those things. I think there is a lot of progress that's happening in that regard as well. There may not be as much equitable distribution that we would like to see, but it kind of has a percolating effect anyway. So I feel that by whatever, if you want to keep 2047 as a goalpost, we should definitely be like a middle income country. And a middle income country is actually fairly good. I mean, it's nothing wrong with, I feel that India will actually exemplify how a developed country should be, that is sustainable in the 21st century, instead of kind of promising a paradise that was not sustainable, that the past developed countries actually held out to their citizens. Let's look at mobility, right? Let's say, for example, if you're working on electric cars, let's say you're working on driverless cars. Let's say you want working on aggregating cars like the Uber, Ola kind of thing. None of these innovations actually is going to remove congestion from the road, okay, and pollution. So what we have to actually look for is how do we maximize throughput? And that means that we need to essentially get faster at getting people from place A to place B. And what are the technologies by which we can actually maximize throughput without actually having any bottleneck? This is my thought process. Oh, we are like extremely gung-ho about the safety levels that we are packing into ePlane, like none other in the world. So we have a lift plus cruise configuration that essentially has the vertical mode of flight, which can also go forward like a drone, backing up for the winged mode of flight, and vice versa. If one of them fails, the other will take over and take you to the destination. Each of them actually has independently a single engine failure mode that can be managed. And if two engines fail, which is an extremely rare event, we will flip to the other mode of flying, which is what I said. And in each of these, the single engine failure itself is actually a very, very rare occurrence with enough redundancies on the number of windings of the motor, the number of controllers that we have, the number of battery packs that we are connected to, and all those things. But if all of these fail, we can still glide to safety. If that fails, we have parachutes and inflatables. If that fails, we can take a 16G impact. If that fails, we will have cushions on the seats, which are what we call as aqueous foams, that will still actually not transform the G levels that are faced by the airframe onto the seat so that the passenger is intact. So it's something that is extremely, extremely safe when compared to anybody else in the world.